Welcome to Los Altos History. I'm Pinky Whalen, and today we have with us Mrs. Charlotte Gregory, who was an early resident of Los Altos. She is going to share with us some of her early memories of the town and its people. Good afternoon, Charlotte. Tell us, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
When did you first come to Los Altos?
In the year of 1924, I came down with Dr. Strube and his wife, and they had rented a home here in Los Altos. They rented the Allen Cranston home for 3 months, and I was more or less a governess there for the whole time, taking care of the children in the home. They asked me to come. I wasn't sure I wanted to, but finally I did, and it was very lovely to come. The experience was nice to be here.
Where had you come from?
I came from Oakland, California.
And were you born in?
I was born back east in Alden, Minnesota. And I decided, instead of taking up my bookkeeping, to do nursing for doctors and being a governess for children. And I was studying at the same time to be a music teacher. And I did do that later on.
And then you moved to San Francisco?
I moved back to Oakland.
Back to Oakland.
Yes, and I stayed there. And in the meanwhile, I came down here and I met, want me to tell you about going to the drugstore and meeting the young man that I married in my life? I went into the drugstore, Gregory's shop, on the main corner of Los Altos, 1st and Main, and he was the druggist there, and we became acquainted, and November the 1st, we announced our engagement. And September the 1st, I returned back to Oakland from Dr. Strube's. I was through nursing and being the governess for the children. So.
Where were you married?
We was married in Oakland, California on December the 31st. And he had the drugstore.
Now, had he lived in Los Altos for a long time?
I believe about a year and a half.
Where was he from?
Liverpool, England.
And how did he get to Los Altos?
Well, he came over from Liverpool to Michigan, stayed a year, finally decided to come out to California, and he was a barber by trade in England, and he went to San Francisco and stayed a while, and then he came down to Los Altos, and he went to the back of the drugstore and started a little barber shop. And he worked back at the post office in the corner building of 1st and Main, the large building that's still standing.
Now, I think we should identify the building, which was on the corner of
First
and Main Street.
Yes.
And it's now, I think, Arno's Restaurant.
That's right.
But then it was a double building, and there was not only the grocery store, but the post office. And didn't he have a haberdashery in there?
Yes, he had he had a drugstore, but he didn't get the drugstore till he had his barber shop.
Aha.
See, first of all, he bought the land across the street on Main, and he built the barber shop. It's still standing in Los Altos.
Was the building that he moved into originally a grocery store? Or a drugstore?
No, it was a drugstore.
It was
Mr. Copeland owned it.
I see.
He didn't own the building, but he owned the store. And back of it was the post office, and Johnny Francisco ran the post office. And Jack had left the barber shop in the back of the post office and gone across the street to his own place. And then in that barber shop, he also had the haberdashery. In the haberdashery, Jack Shop walked in one day and asked him, could he go in business with him? He said, yes, you may. So he went in, and they were there about 5 months, and they had a chance to buy the drugstore from Copeland. So he sold the barber shop to Mr. and Mrs. John Sargent.
All right.
And then he moved over to the drugstore, and Jack Shop was a silent partner all these years, and my husband ran the store. And I met him that year in 1924 when he was running the store, and then we became married. I didn't have any honeymoon. December the 31st we were married. We came back to run the store January the 2nd, and we had a honeymoon in June.
Ah, and where'd you go?
To Mexico.
Oh, that's grand. Now, they bought the drugstore, and then I understand that there was a movie theater.
Well,
in the drugstore.
As we had the drugstore and the grocery store in 1931, we started a theater, and the Spink Boys ran the cameras, and it was silent movies. And I played the organ those couple of years in the theater. And then the talkies came in. Palo Alto opened up a talking theater, so that left us right out in the cold.
How much was the price of admission?
50 cents at first, and later some shows were 75, but 50 cents
Do
admission.
you remember what movies you saw?
The Four Horsemen was one. I don't remember a lot of them. We had all the old movies, Harold Lloyd, and what other, well, there's a few comics in those days. Harold Lloyd was very popular, and the Four Horsemen was popular. Oh, we had a lot of shows, but I don't remember all of them.
When you played the piano, do you play through the whole movie?
Yes, you certainly do. And sometimes I would hit the buttons for the telephone, and afterwards the telephone would ring after I had pushed the buttons or I was late, and then the whole audience would laugh because the telephone would ring when the phone was through ringing, and a lot of little mistakes would happen, but it was rather fun.
Yeah. Were you open every day?
Every night.
Every night?
Every night. Sunday nights we were closed.
How many could you accommodate in the theater?
About 300.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we had a stage, and every 2 weeks we put a show on the stage with local talent in Los Altos.
You got the citizens?
Yes, well, the young children, children in their teens would come in, local talent, and my husband would always put a show on. They'd do something.
A variety type show?
Yes, a variety show.
Oh, how fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Let's see here. Now, that was in 1931,
32. Didn't talkies come in 1933? I believe. You're asking me, I kind of forget all these things. These years rolling by, and I never thought I was going to have to tell this out. I could tell it otherwise, but as it is, to remember everything,
When you first were married, where did you live in Los Altos?
We never moved from the apartments upstairs, 13 rooms upstairs, and I had 5. And that was our home until we sold the business.
I understood that you lived on Pepper Drive for a while?
1 year, when we first were married, and we didn't own the store, we only had the drugstore. We lived on Pepper Drive in John and Sophia Durst, D-U-R-S-T, home upstairs for 1 year. And the second year, 1925, we moved, 1926, that would be. We moved upstairs in the place, and I had everything lovely up there. I had 5 rooms. And they had 2 big bathrooms up there. And my husband built a lawn in the back for the little boy when he was born, our son. And we had all the back stairs closed in. I used to worry about the stairs. We had so many stairs to go upstairs, to climb up.
Have you been in that building in the last few years?
No, I haven't.
Now it's...
not for about 20 years.
Now it's office building.
Yes, I understand.
Upstairs.
Well, we had 13 large rooms, and the front of the building, Jacques had doctors in there on the other side. We had doctors, Dr. Billingsley was there for a long time, and Mr. John Fitzgerald lived in the center room.
Now, who was he?
Just a single man, elderly man. He had the room for all the time he was living until he died. And we had offices upstairs, and then we had one couple on the other side. Lived there for a while. See, we had 13 large rooms up there, very large.
That's amazing.
Yes.
The building is
And that
so
building,
big.
to me, when I come here to Los Altos and see it, that's home.
Of course,
you know.
now it's been divided.
I know, but it is home to me.
So it has a lot of character.
Yes.
It's a good building.
Yes.
Well, now after you moved in there and you became a housewife, then did you do PTA and
Oh,
do
everything
all
in the
those
school.
things that
Oh, yes, for
everybody
8
does?
years. Oh, yes. You want me?
Sure.
Well, I was in the school for 8 years, and I was treasurer for a long time, and secretary of the PTA, and different things came up. They wanted me to be president for a while, and I said, no, give that to Mrs. Charles Hepburn. She has more time than I do. I would help Jack in the drugstore, and I would deliver drugs for him to all these people in Los Altos, and it kept me busy.
Who were some of your lady friends in town?
Oh, the Shanks, Mr. and Mrs. Shank. I used to go there, and then I knew Guy Shop, Mr. and Mrs. Guy Shop, Mr. and Mrs. Paul Shop, and the children, and the DeMartinis, and the Cliffords, and oh, so many different ones.
Did the DeMartinis have their vegetable stand as they have it now?
No, not then. That was another DeMartini that had it in town. And we had a house. We built 4 homes here.
Oh,
sold them
where
all.
were they?
One was on Orange Avenue, and one was on 2nd Street, and one was over, oh, I'd have to remember the streets.
Do you recall the number of the house on Orange Avenue?
No. I'd know the house if I saw it.
Did you live in it, or
no.
you never lived in it?
No, we never moved from upstairs. It was so nice.
I see.
We stayed upstairs all that time.
Do you own any of the properties there, or did you sell them
No, we
all?
sold all the homes. Mm-hmm.
And you were a friend of Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Schaup, and you went to some ladies' meetings with her?
Oh, yes, I went through all the Stanford meetings, and Kathleen Norris had a big luncheon in Stanford, and I went there. I like to go, but I'd rather, later on, I didn't want to go to all these luncheons and things. I'd rather stay home.
Did you know Mr. and Mrs. Smith that now is our history house? Did you know who they were?
No, I didn't know them.
Well,
I should have written some names down that and have memories recalled. I've forgotten a lot of them.
Was your husband involved in local politics, or?
Not too much, no. Not too much. Well, he was treasurer for a long time. When he first opened up, he just run the town and would help and would do everything.
But he was real prominent, and at that point they didn't have a mayor, and wasn't he kind
well,
of?
they called him Jack the Mayor. Yes, he was more or less proposed. It was never voted in, but he was, for a year they called him Mayor Gregory. And Mayor Rossi came down one day from San Francisco, and at that time, and shook hands with him and said, "Oh, you're the mayor in the little puddle, and I'm the mayor in the big puddle." And I thought that was rather cute.
That's cute.
Yes, he was a very popular man, very nice in doing business. He bought all the food for the school at those years. Anything they would have of wholesale and luncheons or anything, he would buy the food.
I understand that he was from a large family.
Of 12 in England.
And he brought them all to Los
all over
Altos?
in England in 1929 and 1931.
Where did they all live in Los Altos?
They found little places. We found places for them. He got everyone a job. And
he did help build
them all.
The movie theater,
yes,
didn't
they helped him in the movies. They helped him build the place, and they helped build the homes. And he gave them a job, and 2 of the boys turned out to be marvelous contractors through building.
Now, are any of the boys?
They're all dead except Jim.
And where does he live?
In Danville.
Oh, okay.
Can't believe that everybody's passed away.
When did your husband die?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. But you were not, of course, had left Los Altos before that.
Oh, yes, I've been up in Oakdale now 25 years.
Let's see. What other business people were you involved with in Los Altos? Do you remember any of the names of people that might have had businesses around you, or?
Well, all those on the main street, Jack knew. Eschenbergers and Larry Nelson when he came in with his drugstore. And things build up, and the more things that come in, the better it makes your business. People always think it's going to harm you, but it didn't. It really goes along just the same. In fact, I think it's good to have more than one business in town.
Well, I noticed in a photograph that there is a grocery store across the street from...
Well, that was Gordon's grocery store.
But then they moved after that, I
Yes,
think.
yes,
moved
they
where
did,
now
yes.
the Kentucky Fried Chicken
That's
is.
right.
Uh-huh.
It was a big store. I was shocked when they took it down. And I used to love the beautiful tree there. They took that tree down
Well,
the middle.
the tree didn't come down by itself. The tree just died a
died,
natural
did,
death.
a natural
Yeah, and they
death,
had
yes,
to take it
down.
down. We do have in History House a part of the limb that was made into a lamp.
Oh,
at History
isn't that
House.
nice?
So there
That's
is,
nice.
and there are still a lot of those trees still around.
Around,
There's one at now Drager's
Oh, yeah.
Market,
Yeah.
and there are a few others that are around town.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Now we can go down the street, and I think where now the stationery store is, where there was a beauty parlor that you used to go to, and I know that you have some wonderful stories about that.
Well,
With some celebrity types.
Thelma Fulbright owned the beauty shop, and I attended that for many a year while she was here, and her brother was there. He was a hairdresser, and every summer some ladies would come to Los Altos, and one was Ginger Rogers, and then she would have her hair done the same time practically that I did, and we'd be in there and we would talk, and that was a lot of years ago.
Did you ever know why she came to Los Altos?
I never did ask her. And then in the drugstore, we used to have Marina Sullivan used to come in, and no, we never asked them. They came to retreats here and stayed with friends, and we would just talk to them. But she was very young.
I think I think there still is a colony in Saratoga. Joan Fontaine and a lot of celebrities used to summer there.
And no, we would see them. They would come in the drugstore quite often. And Marina Sullivan was very sweet. That was John Sullivan's wife.
We did have Ginger Rogers in town a few years ago.
Yes, I know you did.
And she comes in town, and I don't know if she still does, but she buys silk in one of the shops on State Street.
She probably wouldn't even remember me, but regardless,
Well,
we
she
used
probably-
to, well, when she was young, we used to talk together in there.
Oh, that's fun.
It was nice to know her. She was just starting up in the movies. That was many years ago.
She has a lot of reruns on now.
Yes.
Oh. Now, the stationery store, Mac's Tea Room, was that where it was?
Yes.
I understood it was across the street at one point. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. I don't remember that. I probably do and don't. Probably attended it, a long time ago.
Was that a place for ladies to go in the 20s?
Oh, yes, I guess they could, yes.
Well, I think it originally started as kind of a bar.
It did, yes.
And the men would tell them, their wives, they were going for
Going
tea.
to tea, yes.
And go down there.
I know my husband never got to go because he had to work at the store till 9 o'clock every night. Would stay.
Oh.
Our little drugstore came first. It was open at 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And if anybody wanted drugs and rang that telephone at 10 at night, we got up to give him the prescription. But he was very faithful in doing that.
Was the post office there?
The post office, yes, all through it in the back of our store. You'd walk right through our store, and the front of the post office was in our store. And when I came down to stay that summer in 1924, I used to get my mail, and that's how I met Jack, in the store at the time.
And it was love at first sight?
Well, I don't know. I had my eye on him. I don't know.
Well,
and he had his eye on me. I don't know.
Your friend that's here that you come and visit in Los Altos, Georgia Martin?
Georgia Martin is here, and I knew her a few months before I was married. And the other little lady that I come to see, I met her a few years after I was here, but it's been 50 years, about 45 years for her. But Georgia I knew, and
her husband was
Reggie Martin.
Was one of the postmen?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a list here of all these people where he delivered
the mail. Yes. So many things have taken place during that time. I was so busy, and I was very young at the time in the drugstore, and I would keep so busy with my husband, I never kept tabs on any of these other things that went on, you know.
There are a lot of familiar names on this list.
And many people have died since then, you know. One
of the names that I see on here is Peggy Dermoody, and I think she was your son's teacher.
School teacher at school, oh yes.
She was living in the house when we moved on Orange Avenue 23 years ago.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful woman.
Wonderful woman. And her brother is Arthur DeMoody. And they live in Fremont to this day.
Oh.
They're very old, Arthur and Betty DeMoody. I knew them very well.
There are a lot of Buswell. Does that name mean anything to you?
I probably knew a lot of those if I had gone over that. I didn't go over the slip.
Did you know Orville Rock?
Yes, Orville Rockwell and his sister, and yes, I knew the Rockwells very well.
Who else is on here? Oh, there's so many names here. It'd be fun to be able to go through all these sometime.
Yes,
and
I
see.
will, yes. Well, I loved Los Altos, always did like it, and I was always kind of sad we moved away from it, but at the time we moved to Mountain View and had to do that after the years, you know.
Why did you move to Mountain View?
Well, my husband decided to go on thoroughbred racing. And we were either going to buy Jack out, or Jack's shop, or he was going to buy us out. So we decided he should buy us out. He said he would like to have the drugstore, so he did.
Thoroughbred racing in Mountain View. Explain that to me.
We had 3 acres, and we turned it into, we had 7 stalls. My husband went in thoroughbred racing. We raced 14 years all over the west in the United States and some places back east, Middle West, central of the United States. And we raced 14 years, and that was his hobby. It was beautiful. We had a marvelous life.
He seems to have been real versatile in his activities. Had he been interested in horses when you were living in Los Altos?
Yes. But we didn't have anything at the time couldn't have horses here naturally. So yes, he was jack of all trades.
Was Bay Meadows around in 19?
Oh yes.
It was.
Bay Meadows, San Mateo, and then we went to Del Mar, Santa Anita, then up to Portland, then back to Omaha. I was traveling all the time, following him around at the time.
Did your son go with you?
No, because we had somebody on the ranch, and he stayed there and went to school.
Now, where did he go to school in Mountain View?
The Mountain View High School.
And he graduated
from that.
When
yes.
did he graduate?
The last year he didn't go. He was 17. I have to look. I have to think of the day he was born. When he's like 17, 30, or 44. You're asking me now. I have to look at the years. I have to go back to the books. I didn't. My mind isn't on those things that I go through his ledger once in a while that he has at home, and then I have to remember all these days.
Did you sell all the property at the same time, or did you hang on to some after you moved? Some of the houses and stuff. I do know that you have one special piece of property in Los Altos,
yes, but I'm
which
not going to tell that. No, I have 4 homes, and we sold all the homes. Yes.
And you do have some property in Los Altos.
Yes. I'll just leave that out.
Okay.
I'll leave that out.
Now, what's this about a paper route here that I hear?
Oh, well, when just before we sold the business to Jack's shop, we had a paper route for a year. And we took that with us to Mountain View, and we had to keep it because there were so many people getting paid newspapers. And we had all the paper routes from San Jose and San Francisco. And I helped him with that when we moved and when Jack Shop took over the business. And we had it about a year and a half, and then it was sold. And I forgot the little man's
What
name.
paper were you delivering?
San Francisco Chronicle, Examiner, San Jose Mercury, all of them.
You had people working for you. You didn't deliver all
No,
those
we did
papers.
that all ourselves for a while. Our son helped us, and one of the brother-in-laws helped us, and Jack and I got up 3 o'clock every morning after we sold our business. We did that for a year so people wouldn't miss their papers. If you didn't do that, you would have missed your paper. And I didn't mind helping. I never mind.
Was the town crier going at that
Yes.
point?
No.
It wasn't?
No. We didn't have
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And we delivered that, and we bought 3 baby Austins. Do you know what the little baby Austin car? Tiny, small automobile. We bought 3 new ones, wore them out on the paper route. We had quite a paper
So the
route.
3 of you were driving every day?
Oh, yes. Morning, every day. And then afternoon, it's at night at 5 to 7, the evening paper. A very busy life for a year and a half. We got rid of,
guess
yes, yes. Jack of all trades. And we enjoyed it.
And Jack was 40 when you got into the racing business.
Yes.
And you were
Meanwhile, when Jack Shop and Jack Gregory moved into the drugstore in 1924, they'd had it that year, and I met Jack in June. Why, it wasn't a few years after that we bought the building. We didn't own it then. A man in San Francisco owned it. And we had a chance to buy it, and the boys bought the building. So we owned the property. And that's why when we come to move out, Jack Shop said, well, I'll either buy it or you buy it. And we didn't have anybody else to buy it, so Jack Shop said, well, I'll buy the business. And he took over the business, and then he sold it after that. And of course, he's passed away since then, too.
Now, where are you now? You're such a busy lady. What are you doing now?
Well, I'm in Oakdale.
Where is Oakdale?
Oakdale is about southwest from Yosemite, 85 miles. And we're on 20 acres. And my son is there with me and his wife. And they have 5,000 pigeons, the Gregory Squaw Branch. And they are busy. Mama is not. Mama can keep busy, but...
But Mama's writing a book, I understand.
Yes.
And what's the book about?
My life.
Oh, really?
My life and my husband's life together. Yes, I've started that on a typewriter, and I've got to finish it. This year I have to put time into that. I haven't done it lately. But I've started it, and I have pages put away, and I must finish that.
Will you have photographs and...
Everything of that, yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
So...
Well, we want to thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for watching Access Cable.